in the context of the editor and publisher story by Joe Strupp, it's as if this person is speaking, as a representative of the editorial board at the Enquirer, and they were talking about how they spoke with someone who really knows what went on in the elections in Ohio and that everything, was such and such. And I emailed that person at the Enquirer and said, yeah, really, can you tell me the names of any of these people that you talked to or any of the details?
Well,
and her response was, I've said all that I have to say on the matter.
Sure.
So here she is.
I've released the formal propaganda. It's a lot of the way these editorial boards work is like, we said it. What you get is oddly, it's not real investigative reporting on any note. Here's a reality which we actually haven't written about. Following the election, Senator Mike DeWine sent in his PR person, Michael Dawson, and we know from sources inside the Dispatch, lobbied the Dispatch editorial board to kill the story on the stolen election in Ohio. And we've got reports he went to every major newspaper in the state of Ohio. We have confirmation from very well-known sources we're familiar with, actually people who write for the Dispatch, that the story was killed because a U.S. Senator, Mike DeWine, sent in Michael Dawson, his PR person, to kill the story. So what's that tell you about democracy? For example, here it is. The AP used Professor of Law Dan Takaji to say the exit polls really weren't that valid. Now, I've got Takaji's email. Takaji admits, Takaji's a professor of law. I have a PhD in political science. I took 20 hours of advanced study. I've done commercial tracking polls. I would not think of calling myself an election poll expert. Now, Takaji, who has no experience on the graduate level in polling, became the source for the entire world. He bills himself as an election systems expert. So here's a man with no qualifications, any more than Manju. Manju has an undergraduate degree from Cornell. So what you really have to do is you have to ignore, Ronald Bayman, who's a PhD in economics and teaches statistics. You have to ignore someone who hates the Democrats like Steve Friedman, who teaches at Penn and teaches statistics and research methods. You have to ignore someone like me with a PhD in political science, or someone like Richard Hayes Phillips, who has a PhD in essentially finding anomalies in statistical data because he deals with radioactive contaminated groundwater and runs through tons of data to see where statistical anomalies. So what you have to do is ignore all the people who actually have qualifications. And you have to believe all the people who aren't qualified. And again, what are the credentials of the, I'd be surprised to know, I've usually found that most of the editors at the major newspapers, their key qualification to being an editor is kissing publishers' ass. I don't consider that a valid qualification to pass judgment on real election data. Real election data, again, is you actually look at the data, precinct by precinct. They don't do this stuff. They don't go in and look at the ballots, do the tabulations, do the actual statistical analysis that we do. They don't do this stuff. What they do is they say, let's kill this story for the good of the republic. Let's kill this story because I'm kissing the publisher's ass. It's a very rich person who owns this paper. What we do is actual statistical analysis. And what they want to do is ignore us because we have actual proof of the irregularities. And what they want to do is believe people that have no qualifications. And that really is an Orwellian political decision. So the experts are attacked and the know-nothings are celebrated. And that's what people need to realize.
Thank you for watching CBTV, Cincinnati Beacon Television.